Guys, I'm afraid this one might get a little bit emotional. I've not been wanting to make this video. I think I've been putting this off for the best part of a year and a half, but it seems as if all good things must come to an end, and it would appear that now is the appropriate time because, ladies and gentlemen, I'm officially retiring my gaming productivity machine. And genuinely, I'm not lying when I say it might get a little bit emotional. It's a bit like an old car that you've had and it's taken you to like incredible places. You've done, I don't know, like family holidays with the kids. You've got some incredible stories. But genuinely, the reason that I've kept this going for so long is because it's just been so reliable and it works, especially bear in mind that this is, of course, a water-cooled PC. I mean, it's not really something you want to take apart, but it's not something I've had to take apart. I mean, I was informed, and maybe I'm in the wrong here, that custom liquid-cooled loops require like stupid amounts of maintenance, but I'm kind of semi-embarrassed, semi-like proud to say I have never maintained this. I have had this now for around about 4 years or so, and I've never drained the loop, I've never like swapped out the coolant really or anything like that. This has had, I think, over 3 years left completely unchecked, and it still works great. Pretty much every video that you saw between 2020 and around about 2022, halfway through, was rendered on this machine, and as I say, it was rock solid, but it is time to go. So throughout this video, we're going to be talking you through everything that we've got here, what we're moving from, what was good about it, and obviously what we could have improved upon, and then everything that we will be improving upon it with, because I want this to be a proper project. Yes, we're doing like full hardline liquid cooling, and I kind of hate myself for doing that because I want to go soft, but we're going hard instead. So let me walk you through absolutely everything that we're going to do, and it's going to be interactive. Nothing is set in stone. I want your guys' feedback, and I want you to help me to build my new epic productivity / gaming PC. So join us, well, except it's just me, right after a short word from this video sponsor. Deepcool's Mystique All-in-One is here, and it brings stunning looks, functionality, and performance. This epic new cooler packs a 2.8-inch IPS display, allowing you to see your CPU temperatures, speeds, and pump information, or, if you're a bit more flamboyant, playback images and GIFs to really make your PC stand out. The Mystique is perfect for both high-wattage Intel and AMD CPUs, with up to 360mm radiator sizes, performance static pressure fans, and Deepcool's awesome 5th generation water pump. Learn more today with the link down below. So bearing in mind we only had around about 150,000 subscribers when this was built, so thank you to everyone that has subscribed and watched the channel since. I think it's fair to say a lot of you don't even know what this is, but this has been working behind the scenes regardless of whether it's been sending editor Carl loads of files or formatting drives, getting footage,
or just editing when he's being lazy and is going away on holiday.
So what we have here is a X299 based rig, and this thing is old, right? So the CPU that we have in here is a 10980XE. This was sent out by Intel and they conveniently forgot to pick it up, so I put it in my personal rig. Essentially, this is a 7700K, but with 18 cores, which for the time was pretty good, but I mean, it's generated an awful lot of heat in that time. I was actually running it overclocked, so we did get more performance out of it. That was one of the few things I did really like about this chip. It was very flexible. You could overclock it very stably, and obviously this is why we had it in this liquid cooled loop. And that was the other reason that we've kept this going for quite so long, because despite the fact that the loop kind of didn't work on the graphics card, I mean, actually the loop did, but the GPU block did not, which is why we've had it on air cooled for like so long. The CPU cooling was completely silent, so as someone that is definitely a science freak, you wouldn't know this was on. I mean, here's your noise test. I'll get right in there. Literally nothing, and the best thing about this was, unless you were literally thrashing it like 100% on the CPU, it wouldn't really ever spin up. And even when you were, again, it was still completely silent. It was fantastic, and I've never had a PC that's been anywhere close to this level of quiet before, which is awesome. So that's why I've kind of kept it going. I never upgraded this 3080 because we couldn't physically fit a better card in here, because obviously they're all bigger now. So, I mean, I'm looking over here for it, but it's actually here. If we grab our 4080 Super, that would obviously be a decent upgrade. From a 3080, you can see that literally physically does not fit inside, and I'd have to swap the cable out. I loved this cable. I got a lot of like heat from you guys at the time for going with that, because it's like rainbow, but I think that's cool. But that's the old connector. They then obviously swapped that for 40 series with the 12-volt high-power connection. But for productivity, this has been awesome because we've used the Nvidia CUDA cores and DaVinci Resolve and some of the AI features as well that's on the Tensor cores. We've used the NVENC encoder, and the CPU kind of trots along at around about like 35%, and then the graphics card runs flat out when we're rendering. We've had a few issues with the software, but generally speaking, it's been really good. In terms of like hard versus soft tubing as well, I think soft is just so much easier to work with. If I was going to upgrade this rig, I'd feel very comfortable doing it, whereas the rig that was kind of meant to replace this a couple of years ago, you can find that video in the top right corner of your screen. It's a great series and it goes through all of the woes that we had, if you like. That never quite worked. That was with a 12900K, and we still have that system, but I never swapped the CPU block out, so it's fine for gaming, but for productivity, it would just get too hot, essentially. So kind of pointless, but it worked well enough, so it's just like used as a gaming system, if you like. This cable, I will like to say, I know that looks really not neat on camera, but I promise that's just fallen out, because I have upgraded the RAM about 4 or 5 months ago, just because I had it lying around, and I was interested to see whether it would take. So we got some G-Skill next to some Corsair Dominator, and it's worked absolutely fine, actually. It's only really when we move down the rig that things start to get a bit more disastrous, because inside here I have a 10 gig Ethernet card that I'm not sure if it's the card itself or my network, but it doesn't like 10 gig networking, so we're just using 1 gig. And then my least favorite thing about this is, again, at the time, this was cutting edge. It was one of those Intel Optane SSDs, which, again, really fast, was great, but obviously it's showing its age a little bit now. But more importantly, this is only a 500 gig drive. This is my boot drive, so I'm literally running out of space like every single week, and I have to delete stuff. And it's so frustrating. I mean, I've got like other drives in here, so obviously it's not been enough of a problem to just like swap out the drive. But actually, this was one of the few rigs, if I can open it up, where we did actually have decent cable management. I mean, bearing in mind, this has all of the original Corsair RGB gubbins inside. Okay, maybe it doesn't look amazing. I remember it being better than this. Well, you've caught me in the act there with my pants down, haven't you? That's definitely not something I thought I would ever say on this channel, but there we are. But in terms of that water cooling loop, you can see the problem where I haven't maintained it because this level is a little bit low. I mean, it's definitely not the end of the world. Essentially, this just means you've got less liquid in your loop, so less capacity to store heat over a longer period of time. But because we have this 240 at the top and then the 360 there, the fluid never really got warm enough to be a problem. As I say, I think the max temperatures we ever saw in this was like 62 degrees or something stupid on the CPU. I mean, it might have been a little bit more than that as it went on, but I was always really impressed because obviously you've got essentially, what's that? Quick maths. 600 mil of radiator capacity just for one CPU. If you had the GPU in there as well, it would be more of a problem. I would top it up. Aesthetically as well, obviously you do want to top that up because that looks a little bit odd, but bearing in mind this was a productivity machine, it wasn't really anything that bothered me. Something that always did though, was that this little bit of tube here was ever so slightly kinked. Again, nothing to cause a problem before you like write in the comments,
Oh, this is gonna blow up.
this has been running for almost 4 years. It's clearly fine. But that always annoyed me. You have a little bit of a kink there that restricted the flow a little bit back into the reservoir. But yes, if I was going to build a water-cooled system again, which obviously we are, I would recommend that D5 pump that's actually built into this Corsair one. I think the Corsair pump res is just a bit bland, a bit boring. It was functional, but I mean, I'd rather have something better. But the alternative pump that you can get, this is embarrassing, what's the name? It's the DDC, yes, the DDC pump that I actually used in my rig a couple of years ago was noticeably louder. So I prefer the D5 if you can sort of physically fit it in because they are a fair bit bigger. But other than that, as I say, not really anything that's bothered me. I've been a bit lazy with it. That's why it's so dusty. But at the end of the day, I think that's a good thing personally, because I don't want to have something that you need to maintain, you know, like every 3 months, because the inconvenience of that, I'd rather just have like an air-cooled system, to be honest with you. But if I can get something that is this quiet again next time, I'll be a very happy boy. Editor Cole, can you ceremoniously send this away? Oh, that's a bit extreme. And then I'm really pleased to say in with the new, and I'm going to go for an all-white PC build this time because I haven't actually done that for a personal rig. I think it'll look really cool. And there will be some RGB in there, but I definitely want this more toned down compared to what we had here. I want this to be tasteful. That's like the priority. I want this to look premium without going overboard. And this obviously means going for a white motherboard. So let's start really by talking about the platform, because I think the best looking motherboards you can get are either the N7 or the N7. This is the B650E from NZXT. This is obviously the Intel version, the Z790. And Intel will be very convenient for me because I actually have Intels left behind. They're really not very good about like picking up CPUs. Don't tell them, but I actually have one I could use. This is the 13900KS, which would be perfect, if you like, for a water-cooled rig, because obviously it produces a load of heat. It would give us something to do, if you like, with all of that cooling potential that we're going to put inside this. But I don't know, I've done Intel quite a few times now, and as I say, I'm a silence freak, so we're kind of making life a lot more difficult for ourselves if we do go for such a high wattage CPU, because we could be potentially putting 400 watts into this, which, great, will give you extra performance, but I mean, we're kind of just like building this again, if you like, if we do that, right? But I do like the fact this has loads of cores, because again, this is going to be a productivity machine, so to anyone that's thinking I'm going to go for a 7800X3D, the answer is no, we're not putting that in there. But the alternative is either to go for a 7950X or a 7950X 3D, and I'm kind of leaning towards the latter actually, because when we first used that chip, it was good, but the core provisioning service, as we've said loads of times, was a little bit buggy. But it's been ages now, and the price has come down, so I don't actually have one of those, but I think I'm leaning towards buying one of those and then using that in here. Now, obviously, the performance of the X3D version isn't quite as good as the 7950X for productivity, but bear in mind, I pretty much do like, I don't know, 30% gaming, 70% video editing, and a lot of the time I'm actually testing gaming monitors as well. This is what I do at this desk. It would make sense to have like the best gaming CPU that's also great for productivity, which is why the X3D version of that and then the Intel one clearly are going to be trading blows. But I think the upgradability and the heat thing alone for me means that it's going to be worth getting my wallet out and going for the X3D. But obviously the other problem that we've got is upgradability, because it's no secret that the new CPUs are probably going to be coming out in the coming months. Maybe we see something in Computex that's literally a month away, in which case these chips are then going to be not end of life, but especially with the Intel one, I mean, you're going to need a new platform. So yes, that's kind of end of life, if you like. Which means I think that's another reason to kind of rule out the 790 board, because I want something that's relatively easy to upgrade. But this is the B650E N7, and essentially this runs like an ASRock style BIOS. They're very similar, which in my experience have actually been fine. I'm not like a mad overclocker, so as long as it's got the functionality I need, great. I mean, saying that, it doesn't, because this actually only has gigabyte LAN, so I will have to use a 10 gig card to support my NAS and stuff, but that's not really the end of the world. It's just like a small add-in card. I mean, you can't even see it in there. So we also have 3 M.2 slots here, and because this is B650E, this top slot supports PCI Gen 5. That's, I think, the most important thing for me personally, because I, as I say, want this to be upgradable, but also if you want to like drop in a PCI Gen 5 SSD, then that is supported on the top slot as well, which is nice. You might be wondering why not go for X670E, and it's just because like if there was a better board, better looking board, I'll probably do it, but in terms of features for me, there's nothing there I need. I'm not going to be adding loads of extra like Gen 5 cards or anything like that. I mean, maybe in the future, but let's be honest, assuming I'm still doing the channel, by then I'll probably have upgraded to something else. So I think most people should be looking at B650E, and if you're going for a white or a black and white build, this is definitely one of the most best looking boards you can get. My PC knowledge is better than my English. I got a B. So that is our platformer choice then, looking to be AMD, but maybe you guys could convince me to go for Intel. As I say, it's been reliable before. Maybe there's a problem with the Ryzen CPUs. I mean, as I say that, obviously we know we have the problems with the i9 CPUs. Anyway, that's not a topic for today. Instead, I want to move on to graphics. This is a 4080 Super. The 4090, I think, is in a different rig that I need to take apart. So this was the demo unit. But obviously, yes, 4090, really important for me. I am one of the customers that for this channel, I would genuinely get my wallet out, buy a 4090, purely because not only do I use it for gaming and for testing, but obviously that 24 gigabytes of VRAM is fantastic for doing our video editing. I mean, this is a 3080 and it crashes at the moment all of the time because the VRAM fills up. So Editor Carl actually uses a 4090, and he says pretty much all of those problems are gone when he's on the 4090, but even his 3070 Ti would run like into the same problems, right? So VRAM is good, loads of performance, fantastic. But obviously I need a water block for this. The theme for the new one is, as I say, all white, and I'm looking at probably Alphacool this time. I had a few different ideas of blocks and things, so we'll start to see this overlaid now. There's a couple of options for CPU blocks. One's like a plastic plexi, but I think will still look good. And then the other one is like a solid white block. Graphics card blocks are definitely a little bit more limiting, because obviously you have to specifically get the one for the Founders Edition if you're going that way. And the Alphacool one that would kind of match the rest of the stuff has a black backplate, which isn't the end of the world, because I think I can spray that with white primer. And then obviously use some other gloss or matte paint of that, and then I think that will actually look quite good. But it does have like a black RTX logo on the side of it, and I don't think I'd be able to get rid of that. So genuinely, if you guys know any white blocks, or at least completely clear blocks, that would look good in this system and go well with our motherboard, then please do let me know, because I'm looking for these now. I need ideas. In terms of fixtures and fittings, then obviously this is a soft tube fitting, but I want to go for something similar to this. This is a Corsair soft white tube fit. I mean, as I say, soft tubing, again, way easier. You quite literally cut it to size. But if you've never done any water cooling, I'll bring you along for the ride. It is very straightforward, really. It's just quite time consuming. In terms of fluid, I really love this. This is what I used in the older rig, the Corsair 5000D build, EK Mystic Fog. So I'm going to use that again, because it's got like a white look, but then it reacts with RGB. So it kind of works for rigs with loads of RGB or none, because it still looks kind of like that in the middle. It's not solid, but it looks a bit more solid without having the downsides to all loads of like solid bits in your rig. In terms of storage, we've got a 990 Pro. This will be my boot drive, 4 terabytes. Also got another 2 terabyte Corsair drive we're going to use for probably game storage. 4 terabytes is mainly for like video files and things like that. RAM, we're going to go for 48 gig, because I never really used over 32. But obviously if I need to upgrade it, I can just add 2 more sticks. I think this is the best looking RAM on the market at the moment. This is Corsair Titanium from the Dominator range. It's got really nice RGB on the top, and you can swap the tops if you want for something a little bit more tasteful, but I like the one that comes in the box. And then I did also have the 4070 Ti that doesn't really work now, but I'll show you why. Because the idea was essentially just to illustrate what the perfect white graphics card would look like. So if you can find a block, or maybe like a custom water-cooled card that looks like this, then please let me know, because this is actually my favorite looking graphics card I've got. It's mainly the top. I mean, look at that. That is absolutely fantastic, isn't it? And I've used this in loads of white builds, and I would love to put this in my own rig. And this is probably what I would use if I didn't need a 4090 for the editing and the extra gaming horsepower, because a 4070 Ti personally for me is absolutely fine. But yes, I think this is my favorite and best styled GPU. So if you can find me something like that in water block form, I will be very grateful. Of course, this wouldn't be a PC-centric video without mentioning radiators and how much I hate radiators. But actually, when it comes to custom cooling, radiators are fine, right? Pretty much, I would say use as much surface area as possible. You don't necessarily need to put one at the back, because it can look a little bit weird, to be honest with you. I would make sure if you've got a case that can have 2 360s that you're using that. Obviously, more heat capacity is great, but even with a 4090 and Intel. Intel CPU, yes, maybe put the extra radiator in, but probably because we're going for the AMD one, we have a little bit extra thermal budget, so I wouldn't worry too much about going and putting radiators everywhere, but we're going to do 2 360s. Fan-wise, I actually think we might go for non-RGB fans, which would be quite something. I want white fans, and I don't know, maybe the new Corsair RF ones. Those would be interesting. They come in white. I don't like the RGB on them, but if there's no RGB, then that's fine. And then obviously we could use like IQ Link to connect everything. But then if we went down that route, you may as well have just I don't know, gone for the Corsair blocks in the first place. But we've always done Corsair blocks, and while this one has been fine, I've had issues with some of the others in the past. So a little bit undecided. Maybe you guys can let me know. What fans should we go for? Maybe actually we go for like the Lee & Lee AL fans, because I really like those. Yeah, let's probably do that. I will get back to you, but as long as we can sort of daisy chain them together, that'll be fantastic. But I definitely will be monitoring the coolant temperature and having our rig based on that. We're not going to do like CPU temperature based systems, because obviously that doesn't take the capacity of the water, or the specific heat capacity of the water, into account, so you have like fans spinning up and spinning down when they don't need to. So that's good to remember, but otherwise I think that's pretty much everything. Power supply will probably be a Corsair one, 1000 watts, and custom cables just because it's easier to work with. Oh, I just realized I was genuinely about to end the video. I've done my wrap up. I've missed the most important thing, arguably, which is the case. Let me go get it, because I have that already. You know what I've done? You know what I've done? I've given it away on Discord. We're building in air. That's going to be the new case. Here it is. It's fantastic. Well, I'm probably going to have to buy another one. But yes, I really loved the Phanteks NV5. I think that's such a great rig. I'm trying to speak through the disappointment when I've now realised that I don't have that case anymore. Actually, no. Future markers here. I think it's all right. It's just in the storage unit. I'm so organised. Essentially, fantastic size. Is very similar to this, but it just is a bit more modern, looks nicer, can fit even more hardware and potentially longer GPUs inside it. And while there are definitely loads of other good cases out there, most of them actually these days are dual chamber, and I love them, but I don't have the space for them because I have those huge speakers on my desk that take up so much space that I'm obviously not willing to get rid of those. Just to fit like a slightly better looking case on my desk. So I prefer the more traditional tower. That's what we're going to go with. I mean, hopefully by now you've seen loads of lovely footage of the NV5 and the air-cooled build that we did with that. And I think that will hopefully inspire you as to why we're going with that for our next rig. But the question very much goes out to you guys on this. What do you make of my plans? Please, please, please help me out, especially with the water cooling, because I'm knowledgeable, but I am no expert. But there we go anyway. So yes, please let me know. What I'll do is I'll leave links to everything down below that I'm going to build with. You can have a look at current pricing, maybe build it yourself, be the guinea pig, but please do give me ideas. Remember, we're going for an all white build, tasteful, kind of metallic if we can go for that. A little bit RGB is good, but not loads. So yes, please let us know, or let me know down in the comment section below. Smash the like button if you've enjoyed this. I know it's a different format. Hope it's more personable. Hope you like that. And obviously, if you're not already, get subscribed and join me for the ride. Hopefully it's going to be smooth sailing, no issues whatsoever. But yes, water cooling on the channel was quite interesting because I tend to make a lot of beginner to intermediate mistakes, which I think is very helpful for you to see, rather than, you know, the ones where the experts build it and like nothing really ever goes wrong. So yes, get subscribed if you're not already. And as I say, if you want to check out current pricing on anything featured in this video, you can find it listed down below with our affiliate links. And while you're down there, why not give your PC a makeover with Deepcool's new Mystique All-in-One? This incredible cooler is ideal for both Intel and AMD CPUs and pairs stunning looks with powerhouse performance. Deepcool's new pump can run under 21 dB for near silent operation, and paired with their newly redesigned copper cold plate, heat transfer is even more efficient. So get your GIFs and your GIFs ready. There's a screen coming to a cooler near you. Learn more today with the link down below. Thank you guys so much for watching. We'll catch you in the next one.